Good morning, dear people of the internet, and welcome to what on earth is happening in the yarn community nowadays, and what on earth my hair is doing nowadays. I don't know. It just grows like this, apparently. But that's not important. If you thought that the yarn community was just calm, soft, and collected all the time, you are terribly wrong. I don't blame you, I used to think so too. But apparently the yarn community is full of entitled people. So today we're going to look at how to not get into tangled messes like these. I would recommend you a nice cup of tea during this video because internet tea is not really hydrating and you need to stay hydrated. And before we get started, I have a very short public service announcement. I am in college and you can help me with that by subscribing and watching my videos, and I would appreciate that a lot. So thank you. Now let's get started. Crochet is a wonderful tool for creating clothes that you could otherwise only dream of. For example, this gorgeous moth outfit by designer Holly Borealis Art. This creator decided to make a pattern for it so that others could make it too. And in the crocheting community, if you don't know, and also in the knitting community, patterns for garments like these need to be tested. Well, but they're expected to be tested by people, so the pattern is right. So Holly Borealis Art put out a post called a tester call to accumulate people to test the pattern, and the caption of this tester call is as following. This is not the same pattern I've already listed for sale. By the way, there was a thing that people thought that this was a pattern that she already listed on her Etsy, so I think this is an edit to the original caption. That's been answered on another post already. Looking for pattern testers that can make this within 2 weeks. Must work, experience beginner level. Serious inquiries only. You must be able to be a quicker crocheter. 2 weeks is absolutely too short to make this pattern. Provide good feedback and provide good pictures, which is all expected in a tester call like this. It would technically be possible to do this, but it would be stressful and not good for your hands. Furthermore, this is not a paid position. It's a voluntary thing. People have to buy the yarn to make this for this crocheter, and even though they might like to have the pattern themselves too, they still have to invest time and money to buy the yarn to do this. So having plenty of time to make it is like the least you can do as a designer. Holly Borealis Art got a lot of backlash for this, which she herself has posted to Instagram with her own reaction. Someone commented, "Yikes, 2 weeks for that large of a project? That's not sustainable and frankly seems scummy as a pattern tester to ask free labor of people in that time frame. Please have more respect for the community and your testers by not asking them to break their bodies for your pattern testing. I genuinely cannot think of any reason to want such a quick turnaround. I'm disgusted." And then Holly Borealis Art reacted with, LMFAO, "Whoa there, that's insane and intense of you to say. Sounds like you're just mad you don't apply." And to the other person that commented on the original comment with, "Agreed, screams poor planning and now scrambling. Then to offer this opportunity like we are the lucky ones." She reacted, "Listen, this is a voluntary opportunity. You don't apply and I wouldn't send you anything for free with your shit attitude." To be fair, you often get one free pattern or multiple free patterns for testing a crochet pattern. But this commenter is right to call out Holly Borealis Art for this entitled behavior of wanting people's time for this in such a short time frame. There are two ways you can react to criticism like this. You can acknowledge it and learn from it and say sorry, or you can have a genuine, contextually sensible response. And you can do what Holly Borealis Art did. You can call people names and say that they are wrong, because if you can make this in 2 weeks, even though it's just your job, and a lot of people don't have this as their jobs and won't have the time to do this, they can make it in 2 weeks too. You can say that you're not cramming and not bad at planning, even though releasing a crochet pattern like this should take months and months of time, including the testing period, which should be most of the time, quite honestly. And even though you say in your original post that people have to be fast crocheters, like literally it's in there, which means that this person was aware of the problem to begin with. She's technically right by saying that people just can choose to not apply to this if they don't like the idea of this. The thing with that is that the commenters know that and they are still right to call her out on this. That you don't like something doesn't mean that you cannot call it out for objectively bad behavior. For example, I don't like this crochet pin thingy by Prada. I would never wear something like this. Maybe I would, but it's not really my style. But we can also acknowledge together that it is way too expensive for what it is, whether you like it or not. That's not bad criticism, that's just objective truth. Anyhow, this was just the beginning. Here is the next post. If anyone else has anything negative to say about what I'm asking, then you can kindly piss off. I don't care about your shitty attitude, and trying to berate me into sending out patterns to people frankly doesn't make me want to open the opportunity when you have such a horrendous attitude. I will continue in my lane, stay in yours. And then another reaction to the scrambling and bad planning thing is scrambling for what? Scrambling how? How is pattern making scrambling? Just shut the fuck up. You seem like a miserable fuck. Nobody was putting curse words in there before you. And this is posted to her Instagram business page, by the way, just so you know. There's also another reaction to the original comment. And it is, also, I don't want to share any of my work with you ever, so maybe you shouldn't shit on pattern makers earning their living when they could very easily go do something else instead of envision, create, and assemble instructions for a mass amount of people to enjoy. You're really nasty. I cannot even believe I read this garbage today. Then there is even more. And bandwagoning people from Reddit, which is the literal definition of an infested rat's nest, is fucking low tier personality behavior. I wouldn't ever want the displeasure to work with people who acted, thought, lashed out, and believe in her bullying mentality to get people to bend to their will. Y'all fucking out of your mind. Get real. Y'all an underground troll group with a superiority complex. Trust me, I hope you're gonna sit on my page long enough that you're like, God, this music is good. She's actually kind of funny. I like her style. And forget some people who probably thinks they're the king of the roaches ever told you I was a human labor extortionist, because it's stupid. That was a lot of name calling and saying things that people never said before also, because if she were to want to show herself off as a good person here, she would provide more context to why and how this reaction would have been warranted. So it's not, because she's showing herself off here like a very mean person, actually, with just cursing people out all the time for no good reason, I think. Anyway, the one thing I learned as a child that was actually helpful was that if you're bullied, bullying people back is not gonna help anyone. On one hand, Horley Borealis art is calling people names and saying that all Redditors are bad. On the other hand, she's just saying that people over there have no clue how wonderful of a person she actually is with these comments. That doesn't really align with each other. With this reaction, I thought that the Reddit threads about this were gonna be the most awful thing I had ever read in my entire life. But for the purpose of nuance, we should have a look at it. There are comments on here that say things like, the universe loves her. Her Instagram bio now says that she's a crochet sweatshop dictator, which to be honest is at least a tiny smidgen of self-awareness. I am not a marketing expert, but I'm thinking this maybe isn't the best way to grow your brand. Her complete lack of professionalism continues to astound me. And then the reaction to that from someone is, the lines between professionalism and personal behavior appear to be blurred, but when money is involved, decorum matters. This conduct is inappropriate. I hate how often I run into inappropriate behaviors. We really should call folks on it more, so I'm happy to watch this saga unfold. Someone asked, is it normal to release patterns in such short succession? The few crochet pattern designers I follow only release about 1 to 3 patterns in a year. I assume this wasn't the first Reddit thread about this, and I assume the vibe in the comments is kind of the same as it was in the first Reddit thread. Especially since Holly Borealis art did not actually show the Reddit messages or the Reddit comments that she was reacting to. But this was by far not as bad as I would expect with this kind of reaction from Holly Borealis art that we read. Sure, these comments are not nice to read about yourself. That's true, and I think we can all agree to that. But Holly Borealis art is feeding into this with her own commentary and behavior on Instagram. I find the reactions that we read from her very disproportionate to what is actually on Reddit. I think also that it's very unprofessional, because we need to remember that her Instagram page is a business page. I saw that in another Reddit comment as well, that she's probably just doing it for attention, maybe. But it's still not good, and it cannot feel good for her, and it's not feeling good for anyone else. So why on earth do you keep doing this? She has also posted a video reacting to all of this. I'm not going to show you that, because we have frankly already talked about everything involved. The tone of the video was just more of the same. I hope Holly Borealis art can find it in herself to distance herself from this and take some rest maybe, and actually maybe listen to what the people are saying instead of just getting mad that you're getting critiqued. Hi, editing Aiden here. In the meantime, someone else had made a video about this entire situation, and it's more comprehensive than I talk about, because my video is about multiple topics, but it's a very good video, and if you want to watch it, it's on the channel of this person right here, and I found it a very nice video. Anyhow, Horley Borealis art has also seen that video and decided to react on it on Instagram and not on the video itself, with even more out of context weird things to say, so that also exists. I'm not gonna talk about it even more, because I think the situation is getting too much out of hand and out of context and everything. I also thought about cutting this part out of my video entirely, but it fits into the topic of entitled crochet people or entitled fiber arts people a lot, and I don't think it would make any sense to cut it out with the topic and the time I'm making this in, I guess, because it's such a big thing right now. Holly Borealis art, if you by any chance are watching this, I would advise against reacting on Instagram about this. You may absolutely do that. I do not care. I'm not gonna react back to it. But I don't think it makes any sense, and I don't think you're helping anyone with it. Now let's move on, because we've had enough of this. Contrary to popular belief, crochet is actually political. I think we'd all like to sit on the couch and crochet nice sweaters and drink tea and not think about the world, but the world is kind of a dumpster fire right now, so that's kind of not possible. It starts with the morality from the places you buy yarn from, and it ends with people like this. I also need to read you the caption of this video because that is important context. My top reel of 2025 and the reel that started it all. See, before posting this reel, I had quite the wild ride in the crochet community. In 2020, I posted the black square because I felt so much peer pressure from the community on Instagram. If you feel peer pressure from a community online, I think that says a lot about who you are as a person and the amount of confidence that you have in this world. Not a lot. It's kind of sad, I think, but I think it says a lot. In 2021, I had enough, so I posted about my conservative beliefs for the first time and was cancelled. A magazine cancelled my design, and I received dozens, if not hundreds, of hateful comments. I don't share that because I have a victim mentality, but rather because, as the years went on, I became convicted to share publicly what all the conservative crafters have been feeling for years. So if you've ever felt unwelcome in the craft space for your political beliefs, you're not alone. In fact, once I posted this reel, I found out that there were thousands of crafters just like you and me. I'm now on a mission to reach as many of you as possible with community and resources that can help your craft space feel like home again. I've put together a free guide with Christian crochet resources. If you want to check it out, say guide and I will send over the link. I think this does show a victim mentality. This person is part of a political movement that is doing all kinds of bad stuff to people. I was gonna say non-white people, but as of last week, that's not relevant anymore. Anyhow, I think that most online craft spaces are portraying progressive ideas, and often that just comes down to people that are not white or not cishet. And that makes extra sense once you realize that the internet is not just for Americans. Look, I know that Americans have been taking over the internet since the beginning of time, but there are people from all over the world on the internet, and it makes sense that people are open to that on the internet because it's a worldwide web kind of thing. That's literally the name of the internet. But even if you disregard that fact, this creator is very adamant on sharing and connecting her ideas about conservatism and crochet, and even though that feels kind of weird, it's also allowed, but she also posts stuff like this. I say this not just as a conservative, but also as a Christian. Here's why. God is the one who established nations and borders. They are a good thing. I don't hate people of other races, I just believe they can't break the law to come here. I don't recall God making country borders. Like, I could be wrong about that, but what I'm not wrong about is that I can recall countless wars and whatever that have happened in history and that I've talked about in history class about when I was younger. And even still now, that's happening. As you can see, we can follow it live on the internet. There's still wars about country borders and whose land is whose, and God has nothing to do with that. Well, God does have something to do with that, but God did not say this is the country borders and now you have to deal with this. That's not true, because otherwise we wouldn't have a lot of wars about ground, literally. If migrants are bad for moving into countries, wars should be worse, right? But you don't hear this person about that. And travel in general for vacation should also be bad. And also, this person is a blonde white American. You know where blonde white Americans come from? Yes, Europe, colonization, everything. I wanted to say you can go back to where you came from yourself, but as a European, well, you know what I mean. Anyhow, this is just faulty logic. The Bible says that the purpose of government is to, quote, punish those who do evil and praise those who do good. It's not wrong for the government to protect its own citizens by sending back people who, and then the screenshot ends. So it's not evil to live somewhere unless it's on literally stolen land, which is a thing in America, but also people have been disregarding it. Mostly white people from Europe have been disregarding that. So if for a second taking that out of the equation, not saying that that is good, of course, but this does not work as an argument, because I'm pretty sure that she's not talking about what I'm talking about. Then she says, important caveat, does this mean I have no empathy for people who are being deported? Not at all. It would be a tough situation to be in. I live in California and my husband actually saw a temporary worker at this job waiting for ICE. That person is human and you feel for them when you see that. But that empathy becomes toxic empathy, a term coined by Ali B. Stuckey, if we start affirming the fact that because we feel bad for these people, we should just let everyone in our country. If we start affirming the fact that because we feel bad for these people, we should just let everyone in our country, that is crazy talk. All this to say, I stand by my position. While my account is mostly about Jesus and crochet, I have no problem addressing political topics at times. If you come at me and say that I should, quote, just share the gospel, I will probably not respond because I've addressed this and then the screenshot ends again. Toxic empathy. Toxic empathy. That does not exist. I looked up the person referenced here, and we are not going to dive into that because there's a lot going on, but she made a book about toxic empathy, thing that again does not exist. And just so you know, this is a person that is also against gender affirming care, for example, because it's bad, according to this person, and she's saying that gender affirming care doesn't exist and that it's just mutilation. That's the person she's talking about, or she's referencing, that wrote a book about toxic empathy, which is a thing that does not exist. Of course, that's my opinion. I think toxic empathy is supposed to mean that we are supposed to be more individualistic and less of a community in the world, and actually kind of uncaring for other people. According to those people, of course, I don't think that we should do that. I personally think that trying to care about other people and their struggles is a great thing, because it makes you more empathetic to people and a kinder person in general. I think that phrases such as toxic empathy are bad and dehumanizing. I struggle to find words to navigate this for a little bit because I did not expect this amount of bullshit to come up while writing this video. Often on here I say to be kind and to have empathy, and I'd never heard of toxic empathy, so that's kind of throwing me off. I am trying my best to portray this person with nuance, but it is very hard to do so for me. There's also an Instagram story on here that reads, lol, just another example of toxic empathy. Someone trying to call me a racist because I am against illegal immigration. Because illegal immigration is a racist concept. If blonde Carla from Sweden would move to the USA and run out of her visa and still be there, she would face different circumstances than Mohammed from Morocco, who moved to the USA and overstayed his visa, for example. And also, bureaucracy is hard in general to both navigate and just has long wait times and unexpected hordes to climb over when you're entering a country, especially the USA, for example. So it's hard to navigate in general, and we've seen in the past that skin color, for example, does in fact have a play in that. So the term illegal migration has also come up in my country a lot as of late, and people are saying that it's racist here too, because we had a law proposed recently to say that it would be illegal to help illegal immigrants, and people were very against that, and the law didn't come eventually, luckily. But that's very bad, because it's actually saying you're illegal to exist here. That's bad. Especially right now, when you just have to not look white to run into problems in America with ICE. It doesn't matter whether you're a citizen or legal or illegal anymore. It just matters what your skin color is. And that is like the definition of racism. There is even more. It says, in America, things are no different right now. People who don't look American are hunted down by ICE. Then they are detained without trial. Some have already died at the hands of these men, even Americans, like the courageous woman last week. And the orange man being celebrated for all of this. Wake up! And then she comments, the woman last week was not courageous. She was not just shot down on the street for no reason. She was trying to ram someone with her car. Unfortunately, you're the one that needs to wake up. I'm not going to show you the video again because I am sure you have already seen it 50 times already, and more times than you could ever wish for without any trigger warnings, like I have. So I don't feel any need to show you this video. But we all saw it, right? We all saw that the wheels... I don't have to explain this to you I know I don't have to explain this to you. This is just gaslighting based on propaganda by the orange clown. It's bad. I am not even going to try to make nuanced sense out of this. The beautiful thing about the online crochet community is that it's open to so many people because there are so many people from so many different backgrounds in there. And I have had wonderful times. I did a testicle for someone who is Vietnamese, for example, and lives in Vietnam. And it was a wonderful experience, even though I am on the other side of the world. And I often talk with people also from America or from Germany or from any other country, and I absolutely love that about the crochet community, and also from different backgrounds, different sexualities, different genders, different people that are straight, and people that come from more conservative backgrounds than I do, and people that are a lot older than I am. There's so many different people there, and that's what makes it beautiful. It makes me learn a lot, and I absolutely love that. So that's why we don't want this kind of energy in the community, why this is bad. And therefore it also makes a lot of sense that people are critiquing this kind of behavior, because it goes against what the online crochet community mostly stands for: connection from all over the world, because all kinds of different people can crochet, because it's such a quite easy thing to get into. You just need a hook and thread. You can start for like €5, even less in most cases, so it's pretty affordable to start. I'm not gonna say that crochet is an affordable thing in general. That's another whole different topic. It's kind of easy to get into, and you have free tutorials right now, and people from all different kinds of walks of life can do it, and that's absolutely beautiful. So it makes sense that people critique this kind of behavior. It's pathetic that this person feels unwelcome enough in crafter spaces, especially online, as she said in the original post about this that I read, and then feels so unwelcome that she has to get up with her own conservative crochet group. I am very happy that these ideas are generally unwelcome within the crochet community, and she says that she found people that also want this, and I want to say good for her, but actually not. And there are more of these kinds of people in there, but you can also just accept people. Because she feels unwelcome. These people are not going to change their mind, apparently, so they need their own group. And I'm sure that I won't be welcome in their group, for example. So that's also the other side of this. And that you're not welcome in crochet spaces that don't accept this kind of behavior does not make you a victim, frankly. Let's move to a lighter topic. AI images. And yes, that is a lighter topic. I think we are all aware of shitty AI crochet and knitting patterns nowadays, and that's not what I'm going to be talking about. I have also seen a race in promotional images generated by AI for like crochet or knit alongs or yarn stores and whatever, and we're gonna look at those for a second. This is an announcement for a knit along, so you get a few knitters together either online or in real life, and you knit the same pattern together over a period of time. And in this picture we see 3 sweater images which are weirdly smooth, like AI does. Fiber arts are a slow craft and an art, so it makes zero sense to use quick AI images with zero care to promote something like this, because there is not a lot of care. Because on the comments in Reddit it says that one of these sweaters is supposed to look like a certain sweater design, and it doesn't really look like it at all. So the care of making this is not very high, probably. According to the Reddit comments, this post eventually got deleted, luckily, but the person who made the announcement did not say anything. It just disappeared into the void. This type of AI promotions is not just done by knitting influencers who are like a one-person business. They are also done by companies like this yarn store that also wants to promote their knit along. This image from the Woolly Thistle doesn't have a lot of telltale signs of AI, but it does have the Gemini AI watermark in the corner. People critique this choice by saying that this was clearly based on work by illustrator Jan Brett, and that they were very disappointed about that. Someone commented that they had emailed the Woolly Thistle, and they got a response from them with a genuine apology, and they have since then replaced the post with this image, which is a lot better, I think. It's a good thing that they at least apologized, and people on Reddit seem to give these people the benefit of the doubt. But I also think that we should remember that the people posting this have a mind of their own and a consciousness, and they can avoid this kind of stuff. Sure, there can be mistakes made by this. AI images are getting better and better, and sometimes you cannot even see it anymore. But still, it's a choice to make this, which is bad by the one who made it. And you can get scammed. Maybe these people got scammed. We don't know. But we also need to keep in mind that people can just be testing if they can get away with this kind of behavior. And apparently they cannot, which is great. I think it's really annoying to see more and more of these AI crap posts, especially in a community that's all about crafts and art and all that kind of stuff. It does not really fit together. It also shows entitlement, I think, because the people that make the conscious choice to post this kind of stuff seem to care more about money than about the actual community, because it's cheaper to just throw something like this together in a few seconds than to make something, look up photo tutorials on YouTube and whatever to put in the work, which can be free, but to put in the work it takes a lot more time, and time is money in this economy. So there is a lot of entitlement in the yarn community, but luckily we've also seen that there are a lot of people who come out and call this behavior out. So that's great, and I would love to keep these people in the community, please. These people protect the safety of all kinds of people, and that's wonderful. I would highly recommend using kindness and real actual empathy whenever you post something online, and I would also recommend staying away from entitled people like we've seen today. thank you for watching. If you like my little video, please press the wonderful shiny like and subscribe buttons, and then I will see you next time. Ciao!